Meet Savorista. They have premium craft decaf and half-calf coffee with bold, rich flavor. Made from high-altitude, hand-picked Arabica beans and naturally decaffeinated with water or sugarcane processes, and there's no harsh chemicals.
But if you think chocolate, caramel, citrus, even bourbon pecan and mint and mocha, it's small batch roasted, literally so good, customers call it the best decaf they've ever tried.
Better sleep, less anxiety, all the flavor. Use our code INFOGO to get 25% off at checkout at savorista.com. You can also find that link in the show notes. Hey, William, do you love craft beer?
Yes, I do. We
If you're
can,
looking for the perfect gift for a beer lover or just want to show off your brewery pride, the Harpoon Shop has something you won't find anywhere else.
and here's something special just for our listeners. You can save 25% off just by using our code INFOGO at checkout. You can find that link in the show notes. Welcome to the podcast. I'm William.
And I'm Kat.
And that makes this a dash of info.
Little things you want to know.
So, have you ever heard of Pascal-B?
No.
It is the fastest object, but also lost object.
The fastest lost object, you say?
Yeah, it appeared in a single frame, just a flicker on the film, really. It's basically a steel cap. Imagine a manhole cover. You know what that is?
Yes.
Hopefully our listeners do.
A sewer drain cover.
Maybe about 2 foot wide
That's
circumference
the big circles you drive across in the road.
and maybe about 2 to 3 inches thick, really depending on the manhole cover. Pretty heavy. But imagine that being blasted by a nuclear explosion, hurling faster than anything humans had ever made before, and then it vanished. Did it soar into space? Did it disintegrate before it even left the atmosphere? That question, nobody really knows the answer to it. Not the engineers, not the physicists, not even the scientist who sent this whole thing into motion. One frame, one mystery, one object. And that really defies everything we thought we knew about speed, force, and physics itself.
So the story of Pascal-B begins not in a lab, but in a world crippled by fear and competition. The year is the 1950s, and the Cold War is in full swing. The United States and the Soviet Union are locked in a race, not for medals, but for survival. Every test, every calculation, every experiment is about who can build the bigger, faster, deadlier weapon first.
Remember when we did our space junk episode?
Uh-huh.
The Cold War really played a part in all that space junk, didn't it?
It sure did.
So enter the 1950s nuclear testing. American scientists, well, they weren't just trying to make bombs. They were trying to understand everything a nuclear blast could do. Fallout, shock waves, structural survivability. They wanted to know it all. Cities, bunkers, even mountains themselves became laboratories. And even secrecy was, well, it was paramount. No one wanted the Soviets to get a hint at what we were doing as Americans. And I'm sure the Soviets felt the same way. Every detonation carried the weight of geopolitics and the thrill of discovery.
By the mid 50s, the skies were no longer the safe testing ground they had once been. Atmospheric tests rained radioactive debris, promoting a shift underground. Scientists drilled shafts hundreds of feet deep, lowered bombs inside, and observed the results in these confined spaces. The Pascal series, small, controlled experiments, was born. Their mission to measure extreme pressures, violent shock waves, and the limits of materials under force most humans could barely imagine.
This was a crazy time in history.
Wild.
Yeah, wild, as you like to put it, wild. So for the physicists running these experiments, comfort zones didn't exist. Every test pushed boundaries of physics, engineering, and human nerves. They were observed with the extremes. How far could steel bend before it, well, shattered? How much pressure could a chamber withstand? Physicists really wanted to know how far physics could go before it broke. And in this world, curiosity and risk were inseparable. Fear of the enemy drove it all, but so did that urge to explore the edges of possibility. And it's in this charge, high stakes atmosphere that Pascal-B would take shape, an experiment that would become as legendary for what it could improve or for what it did.
Before Pascal B could become legend, it had a smaller sibling, which was Pascal A. Think of it as a dress rehearsal for one of the most extreme experiments humans ever attempted. The team wanted to understand what happens when nuclear energy is confined inside a narrow shaft. How would pressure waves move? Could the material survive? Could a steel cap even withstand the blast long enough to do what they hoped? Well, Pascal A taught them a lot and reminded them of the risks. High speed cameras struggled to capture the motion. And at this time, the cameras weren't really that great.
No, they were not. And I was going to say, why was it called Pascal B again? Because there was a Pascal A.
The steel caps could easily be destroyed or worse, turn into deadly projectiles. Every lesson learned from Pascal A shaped the audacious plan for Pascal B and set the stage for a test that would push physics to its limits.
I guess we really could have just did a whole episode and talked about Pascal A and how it led up to Pascal B, but what fun would that be?
Right, now we can do Pascal A as a dash 2.
Yeah, sure. Somewhere down the line. Pascal B wasn't just bigger, it was bolder. A steel cap weighing 60 pounds. And those for you that are not in the United States, that is roughly 27 kilograms. And this was carefully welded onto the top of a deep test shaft. So think about that. Put a pin in that. Below it laid the explosive charge. It was calibrated to unleash a force so extreme that even the scientists were really unsure of the outcome. And then there was the camera, a single high-speed device running roughly 1 frame per millisecond. And that's about 1,000th of a second to catch the steel cap in motion. The only evidence of what was about to happen, the shaft's dimensions, the explosive yield, the confined physics of the blast, it was all a precise gamble, a collision of human ambition and the raw, unyielding laws of nature. And Kat, I say before we get into that detonation moment, I say let's take a break.
Sounds good.
Coke.
Pepsi.
We'll be right back.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, listen up. All of my workforce friends out there, whether you're ranchers, farmers, or you just need a pair of good leather gloves, look no further than Bare Knuckles. The best leather gloves ever made, featuring a patent design crafted for natural curve of the fingers. These gloves deliver a perfect fit, superior protection, and all-day comfort. Made from premium leather, right now get an exclusive 15% off, and you can find that at buybareknuckles.com, but make sure you use our code INFOGO at checkout. You can find that link in the show notes. Upgrade your hands, and remember, every purchase, well, it supports the show, so thank you.
If you love unforgettable treats, you've got to try Molly B's gourmet cookies. These aren't your average cookies. Molly B's brings bold, artisan crafted cookies straight to your pantry. We're talking chocolate, cherry, and amaretto and be cordial. Earl Grey, lavender, white chocolate, and lemon glaze in the tea. Even maple, bacon, whiskey, and white chocolate in the Boss Man. Founded by a single mom from Alaska, Molly Bees has become a national sensation. You get 10% off any product using our code INFOGO at mollybees.com. Find the link in the show notes. So the detonation moment. Well, the countdown ended, the explosion detonated. In the film, one frame shows the steel cap sitting there, and then nothing. Gone. Just a single fleeting image capturing the impossible. A man made object hurled at unimaginable speeds, disappearing in an instant. No one could see it with the naked eye. No instrument tracked it beyond that frame. All that remained was speculation, math, and wonder. That single frame became a window into a world where physics meets mystery, where human curiosity dares to collide with the most extreme forces on Earth, and possibly beyond.
Could it really be the fastest object ever? Well, I mean, think about that question. Imagine a steel cap, 60 pounds of solid metal, launched by a nuclear explosion. Now imagine that it's moving so fast that it might have traveled 6 times faster than the speed needed to escape, well, Earth's gravity, and roughly 66 kilometers per second. That's not just fast. That's mind-boggling fast, right? Just to really put this in context, bullets move at a few hundred meters per second. Meteors strike through the sky at tens of kilometers per second. Even the Apollo spacecraft, the fastest humans ever built at the time. Well, this all paled in comparison. And yet, Pascal-B might have shattered all those records in just a single invisible moment.
Of course, this is where physics gets tricky. Calculations suggest incredible speeds, but they assume that steel cap behaves like an ideal object, ignoring the forces that might destroy it instantly. Heat from the blast, friction from the shaft, shock compression, atmospheric drag. All of these could have vaporized the cap before it even left the atmosphere. Some physicists argue that the numbers are literally impossible. Others say it's conceivable, but we aren't sure. The fascinating part, though, even the most sophisticated equations start to break down at these extremes. Pascal B exists in a kind of no man's land for physics. Too fast, too small, too extreme to measure with certainty.
Why physics really can't look away from this? Why does it really stick around? Pascal B isn't just a curiosity, it's a challenge. It forces scientists to ask uncomfortable questions. What are the true limits of material science? How far can physics be pushed before it stops making sense? Could this steel cap have briefly touched space, if only for a fraction of a second? In the end, though, Pascal B, it might be the fastest object humans ever launched, and we still really don't know where it went. It's a mystery. It's measured in milliseconds and velocity, a ghost of human ambition, and it could be streaking through space or could just be in tiny pieces in the atmosphere. We really don't know.
So I imagine that meme at this point as it's detonating and it stops and it starts playing that dun 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 dun. All right, and it's floating through space. Just keep going.
It's part of space junk. Okay, got it. It might
It
even
may,
play a part in the Spaceball movie. Who knows?
possibly. It it's probably made it out of the Milky Way. Who knows?
Oh, could you imagine the little green people and they're like,
What
what
is
is
this?
this? Yeah, I'm thinking that too. This is still object. Is it are there aliens inside of this?
It's got words on it. Even in the world of extreme physics, some questions don't have answers. Robert Brownlee, the lead scientist behind Pascal B, eventually admitted something remarkable. He didn't know for sure what happened to the steel cap. His best guess? It probably vaporized instantly in the nuclear blast. But even that admission is chilling. Here's the lead scientist of the most daring experiments of the Cold War confessing uncertainty. After decades of calculations, simulations, and speculation, the very object he launched, designed with meticulous precision, remains a mystery.
But this really is an enduring mystery because there's no fragments, no instruments were able to track it beyond that single high speed frame. There's no photographs that captured it in flight after the first millisecond. Could it have reached the edge of space, even for a fleeting moment? Could it briefly orbit Earth, well, before disintegrating? We really do not know. It's a story that borders on science fiction. A man made object moving faster than anything alive, but vanishing into the unknown. For those who study it, Pascal B exists in a twilight zone, if you will, between physics and legend, where certainty dissolves and imagination, well, it takes over.
The mystery didn't stay buried in a lab. Over time, stories spread online and in forums, turning Pascal B into what some call the first human object in space. Whether it actually achieved orbit or not, the myth adds a new layer to the story, blurring the lines between documented experiment and legend. And that's the part of fascination. Pascal-B isn't just a physics problem. It's a narrative about ambition, uncertainty, and the moments where human curiosity outpaces what we can measure or even understand.
Pascal-B isn't just a forgotten experiment buried in the Cold War history. It's a story that continues to fascinate. And physicists, well, they still debate it. Enthusiasts online turn it into legend, and every new mention sparks the same question. How fast can humans really make something go? And what happens when we push it too far? So even decades later, Pascal-B still reminds us of the ethos of Cold War science: bold, ambitious, audacious, sometimes reckless, but always driven by curiosity. Because scientists weren't just testing bombs, they were testing the limits of the physical world, daring to explore forces that most of us can, well, barely imagine.
The experiment also carries a cautionary tale. Extreme testing can have unintended consequences. Steel caps can vanish. The results are uncertain here. Experiments push boundaries that sometimes outpace understanding, and then you have more experience to try to understand what you just did. But hey, Pascal B shows that curiosity and ambition are powerful and that they can also create mysteries we may never solve. And yet, there's inspiration here too. Science isn't just about certainty, it's about asking questions, chasing the unknown, and daring to see what's possible, even when the answers might not exist yet. That's why you got to be curious.
That's the basis of our show. Pascal-B really does leave us with some questions that are still relevant today. How far can matter be pushed before it breaks?
How well do we really understand extreme forces?
And what mysteries are still hidden in experiments we may never see?
Pascal B is more than a steel cap on a blast. It's a reminder that sometimes the most remarkable things in science aren't the answers we get, but the questions we're brave enough to ask.
I thought this one was pretty cool. I've heard of Pascal-B. I don't think it made it into space. I think it disintegrated.
Sure, it disintegrated too. That would be insane. Because it's one thing to not be able to see it with the naked eye, because obviously we know that our eyes can and brains can only process things that are so fast, right? I'm wondering if we had had like one of the cameras today back then, would it have caught it or not? Does our cameras today catch things? Because I know that the cameras of the 50s was not that great.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could have had dual cameras, and I wonder if it's an experiment that could be, um,
Replicated?
yeah, even through digital replication.
Hmm.
I don't think it made it to space. If it did, it just made it to the atmosphere before it just disintegrated.
Yeah, came barreling back down, maybe.
But I don't know, 100 years from now, when people up there cleaning up the space junk, they're going to be like, "Here's Pascal-B."
Absolutely. So,
If you would like to support this podcast, tell a friend and help get the word out.
if you'd like to help us keep the show going, you can do so at Patreon. The link is in the show notes.
Kat and I want to say thank you for listening.
Yes, whether you're new or have been with us since the beginning, thank you.
And why don't you join the Facebook group at Info on the Go?
There, you can share with us your show ideas
Or you can just join the conversation or ask us a question.
and make sure you follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Send us a text using the link in the show notes or leave a review.
It really helps others find us. You can also email us at,
infoonthegopodcast@gmail.com.
and you can find that link in the show notes. Till next time.
Stay curious. Every morning starts with a choice. Don't settle for just coffee. Rise up with strong coffee. Meet the world's strongest cup of joe. Strong isn't just a drink, it's a movement. And strong stands for striving to reach our natural greatness.
Born from one simple need to be better. They rebuilt coffee from the ground up, infusing organic coffee with collagen, protein, nootropics, and functional ingredients that fuel your body and sharpen your mind. There's no crash, no compromises, just clean energy, focus, and flavor that fires you up.
Whether you're chasing kids, chasing goals, or chasing greatness, don't just wake up, rise up. Strong coffee, the world's strongest cup of joe, for a world ready to be better.
Use code INFOGO at checkout to save 15%.